Beneath the busy, bustling streets of London, where the city's heartbeat pulses through neon-lit avenues and ancient cobblestone alleys alike, there exists a world few ever see. London, a city of secrets, has always been a place where the past and present collide, where the echoes of history linger in the fog, and every shadow seems to hold a story. Tonight we invite you to journey with us into the depths of this city, to a place hidden from the eyes of millions, yet alive with whispers that refuse to fade. Deep below the surface, tucked away beneath layers of brick and stone, lies an old radio station basement. It's a place that time seems to have forgotten, a relic from an era when radio waves carried the hopes, fears, and dreams of a nation. The air is thick with the scent of dust and old paper, and the only light comes from flickering bulbs that cast long, trembling shadows on the walls. For decades, this basement was the nerve center of late-night broadcasts, a sanctuary for voices that reached out into the darkness, connecting strangers across the city and beyond. But as the years passed and technology marched on, the world above changed. The city grew louder, faster, and more crowded, but down here in the silence, something else took root. A mystery began to grow, one that chills every worker who dares to descend those creaking stairs. The machines, once alive with the hum of electricity and the crackle of voices, now sit in silence. Their dials are frozen, their lights extinguished, yet those who have spent time in this basement speak of strange occurrences, of cold drafts that seem to come from nowhere, of the feeling of being watched, and most unsettling of all, of voices that echo through the darkness when the machines are supposedly off. Some say it's just the building settling or the wind whistling through old pipes, but others aren't so sure. They whisper about the night shifts when the silence is broken by faint, disembodied murmurs, snatches of conversation, laughter, or even desperate pleas for help. These voices, they say, never stopped, even when the broadcast did. Imagine sitting alone in that empty broadcasting room, the city's lights twinkling faintly through a grimy window, the only sound your own breath. You reach for the microphone, feeling the weight of countless stories that have passed through it. Suddenly, a chill runs down your spine. You hear it, a whisper, so soft you wonder if you imagined it, but then it comes again, clearer this time, as if someone or something is trying to reach out from the other side. The voices are never quite the same. Sometimes they're playful, sometimes mournful, and sometimes they're filled with a sorrow so deep it seems to seep into the walls themselves. No matter how many times the equipment is checked, no matter how many experts are called in, the phenomenon persists. The voices never stopped. They linger, haunting the airwaves, refusing to be silenced. Welcome to Beyond Poksha, where we delve into the mysteries that lie just beneath the surface of everyday life. Tonight we invite you to join us as we uncover the haunting of London's radio basement, a story woven from the threads of history, technology, and the unexplainable. We'll hear from those who have experienced the phenomenon firsthand, engineers who swore they heard their names called in the dark, hosts who felt icy fingers brush their shoulders, and skeptics who left the basement forever changed. We'll explore the theories, rational and supernatural, that attempt to explain the voices that refuse to fade. Is it a trick of the mind, a glitch in the old machines, or something far more mysterious? As we journey deeper into the shadows, keep your ears open and your mind sharp. The answers may be closer than you think, but in this place, the line between reality and the unknown is as thin as a radio signal in the night. So, settle in, turn down the lights, and prepare to listen. The mystery begins now. For decades, employees of the station have whispered the same terrifying story, a story that has become a part of the very walls, a secret passed down from one generation of broadcasters to the next. It's a tale that lingers in the air, as persistent as the faint hum of electricity that never truly leaves the building, even in the dead of night. The story is always told in hushed tones, as if speaking it too loudly might awaken something best left undisturbed. Some say it began in the earliest days of the station, when radio was still a new and mysterious force, and the boundaries between the known and the unknown seemed thinner, more fragile. Others claim the haunting started after a tragic accident. A late-night engineer, alone in the control room, who vanished without a trace, leaving only a single chilling broadcast behind. Whatever its origin, the legend has grown with each retelling, feeding on the fears and imaginations of those who work the graveyard shift, those who know the station best when the world outside is silent and the only company is the soft glow of dials and the crackle of static. The heart of the story is always the same. Even when the transmitters were powered off, strange signals could be heard echoing through the speakers. It didn't matter if the equipment was unplugged, if the power was out, or if the entire city was plunged into darkness by a storm. The voices would still come faint at first, like a distant conversation carried on the wind, then growing louder, more insistent, until they filled the room with a chilling presence. Some employees describe the voices as speaking in fragments, half-formed sentences, words in languages no one could identify, laughter that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Others heard music, old songs that no one recognized, melodies that lingered in the mind long after the sound had faded. There were those who claimed the voices called their names, whispering secrets only they could understand, secrets that left them shaken and unable to sleep for nights afterward. The phenomenon was so persistent that some staff refused to work alone after dark, insisting on keeping the lights on and the doors open, as if the simple act of illumination could keep the darkness at bay. The static itself seemed alive, filled with words that no one could explain. Engineers, seasoned by years of technical troubleshooting, would spend hours trying to trace the source of the interference, convinced it was nothing more than a malfunction or a stray signal bouncing off the atmosphere. But no matter how many wires they replaced, how many times they recalibrated the equipment, the voices always returned. Some began to suspect that the station itself was haunted, not by a single ghost, but by the echoes of every story ever told, every song ever played, every secret ever whispered into a microphone late at night. The static became a kind of language, a code that only the building understood, a reminder that some mysteries are never meant to be solved. Over time, the legend of the haunted station became a rite of passage for new employees. They would gather in the break room, sharing their own encounters, comparing notes on the strange things they'd heard in the static. Some laughed it off, calling it a trick of the mind, a side effect of too many sleepless nights. But others, the ones who had truly listened, knew better. They understood that the hauntings was thus ban was real as the cold shiver that ran down their spines whenever the lights flickered and the voices began to speak once more. Some workers described hearing urgent Morse code messages that vanished the moment they tried to record them. Others swore they heard broadcasts in languages they couldn't recognize, voices from nowhere playing through dead equipment. There's something about the night that changes everything. When the city of London falls quiet and the only sounds are the distant hum of traffic and the occasional echo of footsteps on wet pavement, the radio station transforms. The familiar room, so lively during the day, becomes shadowy and strange. The air feels heavier, as if the darkness itself is pressing in. It's in these late hours, when the world outside is asleep, that the scariest encounters have taken place. The stories that have emerged from these nights are whispered among staff, passed down like urban legends, but for those who experience them, they are all too real. The maintenance staff tasked with keeping the station running smoothly often work alone after midnight. The corridors, lined with decades-old equipment and faded posters, seem to stretch on forever in the dim light. It's a lonely job, and the silence can be overwhelming, but sometimes that silence is broken in the most unsettling ways. Several workers have reported hearing full conversations echoing up from the dark basement, voices overlapping in heated debate or casual chatter. The words are indistinct, but the tone is unmistakable. People talking as if a meeting were taking place just out of sight. Yet the maintenance staff know the truth. They are the only ones in the building. The rest of the team has long since gone home, and the upper floors are locked and empty. The voices seem to come from nowhere and everywhere all at once. Driven by a mix of fear and curiosity, some workers have rushed to the source of the voices, convinced that someone must have broken in. They descend the creaking stairs to the basement, flashlight beams cutting through the darkness. Down there, the air is colder and the silence is even more profound. The old radio equipment, relics from another era, sits unused and covered in dust. And yet the voices persist until the workers enter the room. Suddenly, everything goes quiet. The only sound is the hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. When they check the machines, they find them completely unplugged, wires dangling uselessly, power switches turned off. There is no way any of the equipment could be broadcasting anything, let alone full conversations. The realization sends a chill down their spines. How could they have heard voices coming from machines that aren't even connected to power? The stories don't end there. One worker, a veteran of the night shift, recounted an experience that still haunts him. He was making his rounds, checking the equipment as usual, when he heard a faint crackling sound coming from an old radio set in the corner. At first, he thought it was just static, the kind of background noise you get from old electronics. But as he listened, the static seemed to form patterns, almost like words. He leaned in closer, heart pounding, and that's when he heard it, his own name whispered through the static as clear as day. The voice was unmistakable, and it sent a jolt of fear through him. He spun around expecting to see someone standing behind him, but the room was empty. The radio, still unplugged, continued to emit its eerie static. He left the basement in a hurry, and to this day, he refuses to go down there alone. These nighttime terrors have become a part of the station's lore. Some say it's just the mind playing tricks in the darkness, fueled by exhaustion and the isolation of the night shift. Others believe there's something more at work, echoes of the past trapped in the walls and the old machines waiting for someone to listen. Whatever the explanation, one thing is certain: when the lights go out and the city sleeps, the radio station becomes a place of mystery and fear. The stories of whispered names, phantom conversations, and inexplicable sounds serve as a chilling reminder that some things are best left undisturbed after dark. Historians point out that during World War II, this station was used for secret communications. Could their voices be echoes from the past still trapped in the airwaves? Or is something darker hiding in the basement, using their technology to reach the living? Next time you hear static, remember, sometimes the silence is just a mask for what still speaks beneath. Subscribe to Beyond Poksha for more chilling tales where history and horror collide.